It's time for the Bookie and the Bettor Show. If you're a sports fan, now it's time to play the odds and make every bet count. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service. Now introducing Rob Kowalski, the Bookie, and Randy White, the Bettor.
Welcome back to the Bookie and Bettor Show. I am your host, Robert Kowalski. I'm joined once again by my best friend, Nick Schulte.
Hey. How you doing, bud?
I am great. Thanks so much for joining us here for NFL Conference Championship Weekend. Woo. It is, in fact, down to these last four teams. I know that you are overjoyed over the 49ers making their way into...
It's my team. Fun fact, do you know that the 49ers have now been in 35% of all NFC Championship games ever played?
That's awesome.
19 out of 50, what are we on, 53 or 54?
Yeah, it's some 58 is what they say. Okay. You know, your Niners, you said they were going to win by, I've tracked everything. Everyone could just see it. You said double digits or so.
17, I believe, was the number. Yeah. You win some, you lose some. It's the way the cookie crumbles. No, I think looking ahead, we learned, as a Niners fan, I learned a little bit about watching last game. And what I learned was Brock Purdy does not like to play in the rain. So, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning, and they're still alive this week. So,
up is up, as they say.
Up is up, as they say.
In the finance world as well.
Up is up, up is up. So, but to take, I believe it was Gronkowski said something after that game, 100% right. 58 minutes of that game was all Green Bay, and the last 2 minutes was luckily the Niners. But it really wasn't. Green Bay lost that game. The Niners did not win that game because they did not look good.
Perfect. So let's stay NFC. You know, look, the Lions, they picked up all these wins. They won their division. They looked great most weeks. Is this it? I mean, is this for real? This is, is this team this good, or is this just been a paper tiger all year?
I think it's going to be a great game come Sunday, and I think I mean, if you're a Lions fan, how joyful you right now. It's been a long time.
Forever.
I think
forever.
Is it their first one? But I think they made it here. They're definitely a good team, but anything can happen any given Sunday kind of a thing. So
let's stay right there then for everybody. Of course, thank you again for joining us here, whether you're watching us here on YouTube or you're listening to us on your podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We do this every week, no matter what. I promise you, after the Super Bowl, things only get more interesting. I promise you that, and you will see what I have inside my infinite box of fun that will continue to come.
Good things to come.
No doubt. And so why don't we just go ahead and just stay here on the NFC side. The Lions, of course, are in San Francisco. This one was strange in that, of course, at Baldini's, we're so close to the Bay Area. We have so much of a Bay Area influence. I said, well, if we're going to set a number, let's go a little bit on the higher end. So there were some 6.5s in favor of San Francisco. We went straight to 7. The entire world went washing down to 6.5. I suppose that's probably due to the lack of Deebo Samuel, a very big question mark. I thought otherwise. So 7 is where we were. And so look at us. It's 7.5. So if you've waited this long, I'm sorry, San Francisco fans, at least from a betting perspective, because now you're paying an extra hook on this price. So let's go and deal with the current number, Nick. 7.5 with the total now up to 52. Lots to be said from a betting perspective, of course. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and just break it down for how you see this game playing out.
Well, you've heard me say all year, the trend is your friend. And if you look at, I believe it's the last 12 matchups between Detroit and San Francisco is 11-1, going back to 1996. So I also believe San Francisco has never lost to Detroit at home. With that said, I do think this is going to be a close game. I think this game has the potential to even go into overtime. I think the Niners win by 6. So I would never bet this, never going to bet against my team, but I do think I'm taking the Lions on this one.
That was very, for that however many seconds that was horrible audio as I started to choke and think about, wait, what did I just hear? But yes, that was in fact Nick Schulte going on the record. Actually
I did say I'm not betting it. I'm
Correct.
Not betting
you are
it.
not betting it.
Betting against my
However,
team.
from a betting perspective,
I think the Niners win by 6.
that's very close to the number. I appreciate that.
No problem.
There are, obviously, as we get closer and closer to the end of the regular season and, of course, into the playoffs, propositions, right? So, these are the things that you can bet on, the little micro games that you could bet inside of the game, propositions, props for short. Of course, for those that are listening, you probably wanted to go and take a look and see, maybe we could see how we can, make up some scratch on a particular player. Let's go ahead and take a look at both of these teams. And Nick, I want to just go ahead and just hear your perspective and your thoughts, if you have any, on some player props here. Let's start with the quarterbacks, actually. And the ones that I've pulled up, of course, to start off with is the number of passing touchdowns from both Brock Purdy and Jared Goff. Currently, Jared Goff and Purdy, depending on your pricing, Purdy far more weighed to the over of 1.5 touchdown passes thrown in this matchup of the NFC. Greats, minus 210 is currently a price that's being bandied about to go over that total.
Minus 210 for over 1.5.
Over 1.5. Got a opinion there for Brock Purdy.
I think he's gonna have 3 touchdowns. So
okay, so not.
I don't know if at minus 210. I don't know if I'd take that one. But.
So actually, no. So from you could find 2.5.
Yeah, I
at a nice significant.
That's what I would look for sure.
Jared Goff, on the other hand, is almost a coin flip, about minus 115 both ways. 1.5 also for Jared Goff, total number of touchdowns. How would you go there?
I also think that goes over.
Okay, so you could see exactly what I'm doing here to Nick as I'm prodding away the threads to see just how he got to his decision. I'm trying to find a way to basically break down how he handicapped this game. So as you could see, he already likes over 1.5. He actually said over 2.5 touchdown passes thrown for Brock Purdy and over 1.5 for Jared Goff. So that's 3 decisions. Not that he's betting them. However, from a betting perspective, these are the fun things that we can do.
With that said, I will bet some player props this week. And I love player props, and really, over the last decade with the expansion of, fantasy football, yes. I think a lot of people now kind of looking into that more individual, and just gives you more reasons to look into a game. And someone like me who doesn't want to really touch the totals on this game, because again, I'm not betting against my team, but I'd love to take some of those props. So
let's take a look at some more of these propositions as we take a look at this game from a betting perspective. Christian McCaffrey, along with, let's just do a two-headed monster of both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs for Detroit. Rushing yards here currently set to Christian McCaffrey, 85.5 rushing yards. I know this is
total yards or rushing?
No, these are just rushing yards. I know he's an all-purpose back. He does an awful lot of damage by receiving the ball as well, but for rushing only, 85.5 yards, over under.
I'm going to go under on that one.
Okay. Probably seeing a little bit more of a passing attack. So that does make sense. You see how Nick is thinking, because if he likes over 2.5 touchdown passes thrown by Brock Purdy, he's probably going to be throwing the ball more often. So how about that? David Montgomery, 43.5 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 49.5 yards. You could see they probably end up splitting the count, total number of snaps. Thoughts there on that two-headed monster?
Oh, those are close ones. My gut tells me to go the under, just because it's kind of running back by committee. You don't know who's going to be taking the majority of the snaps, and I mean it depends what San Francisco defense you're looking at. I mean they did not look great against Green Bay, and Aaron Jones kind of made a little statement in that game. I think it was the first time in 15 games the Niners had let up over 100 yards rushing.
Yes.
So, again, I'd like to say unders on those, but one of them is probably going to go over for sure. It's just going to who's the majority back there. So I'm going to say I'll take the over on the lesser of the one, and I'll take the under on the 49.
Everyone got that at home. Let's move on to receiving yards. And this is obviously, I think I might see where this might go. I'm just going to go ahead and lay out the number. I'm not going to weigh this in any direction because, of course, Nick already said he likes, again, over touchdown passes. So we know that those have to get thrown. Amon Ross St. Brown for Detroit is at 89. Let's make it 87. A consensus number, 87.5 yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown, total receiving yards.
Oh, I think that's going to be right on the number, but I would tend to go over with that one.
Okay, over for him. Kittle, George, 60.5.
Oh, as soon as you said that, I thought 52, so I'm going to go under.
Okay, excellent. Very good. I'm glad you got that. Let's take a look now at the other player that we talked about, and you asked about total yards. Christian McCaffrey, this is receiving yards only. 36.5.
Over.
Okay.
You might get that on one play.
Oh, okay. How about that? I like that.
Is there a special prop for that?
There probably will be, actually, now that you mentioned that. Thank you. I'm not going to put out a prop today on Deebo Samuel because even though he is questionable, I think that there is absolutely no way that he doesn't suit up, although a shoulder injury that he suffered in week 6. Not the same as he injured in previous weeks, so I think that no matter what, he's playing this game.
Yeah,
let's just...
And there's a little game planning, I think, going on. I mean, of
course.
You're not going to come out and say whether your starter's playing or not playing. Let them keep thinking and keep guessing.
Completely agree.
What is it? 90 minutes before the game, you got to put your final.
Right. And I would think, I mean, if I'm coaching against him, I'm coaching Deebo Samuel playing. You have to.
Exactly.
You just have to plan on it. But let's go and put a pause on his performance for the game, and let's go on someone that we know is going to be there, Brandon Ayuk. 78.5 yards receiving.
Reno kid going over.
No bias.
No bias. I think he's going to have a huge game this week. I think he's going to be the difference maker. And again, I see this game kind of really going back and forth the whole way. Not to say they're going to abandon the rush completely, but I think it's going to be a very air raid passing attack offense on both sides. That's just gut feeling that I have.
All right, so I like to finish up with a nice tight bow on the Niners-Lions game by doing buy or sell. And so obviously anytime touchdowns is another proposition that you could always see everywhere, including here at the Book of Baldini's.
Love those.
But, Nick, the one player I want to put up on our pedestal is, well, an MVP if a non-quarterback ever won it, Christian McCaffrey. Okay. So it seems elementary that he's going to score a touchdown every game. What is your buy price that he does not?
That he does not score a touchdown in the game, plus 225.
I was going to give you 3-1.
Okay.
Thank you for saving me some money.
Not a problem. I'm just saying.
So you're buying at plus 225.
I would buy that at plus 225. Just because I kind of have a feeling the way that this game is going to go. So
you're a good man, Nick. You're a good man.
I can see the future. My sportsbook account doesn't always agree with me, but
so that wraps up the review here of our Lions
really quick,
and Niners
though,
game.
I would like to know. I mean, there is a anytime touchdown that I'm kind of looking at right now. Kyle, fullback. What price do you got on him?
Juice Chick?
Yes, I think he's definitely.
Those are one of my people. You know,
he's scoring this weekend for sure.
You're probably getting double digits on that.
Perfect. I like it. Big money.
You know, I like that. Actually, you are searching for that big money.
If you kind of,
why not?
Well, if you go back, usually in these, I believe last year in the championship game, he scored a touchdown. He's kind of these breakout games, these big games, he usually steps up to the occasion. So
I think that between finding yourself a price, and just from a betting perspective, of course, everyone wants to. You want to have some sort of action on the game. You're watching it. Everyone knows sports betting is everywhere. It's prevalent pretty much in every state now that we're listened to, and maybe even nationwide. Forget about international. But if you look at the number of bet types and the things that can be bet on, including anytime touchdowns, you want to know, hey, I want to make a wager on this player to score a touchdown, and I'm going to bet this amount or whatever your stake is going to be, and here's exactly how much you're going to get paid. Actually, so for the record, if I just pull this up right now, man, I got to scroll down quite a bit here.
You got to find them.
No, 10-1. 10-1 is
okay.
Definitely a fair price on a fullback scoring a touchdown. So
I like that.
Nice little grab there.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's move on to the AFC. And, of course, we already know what's going to happen here. It's a matchup between Kansas City on the road in Baltimore. Long time ago, I was asked who was my Super Bowl pick. And I pretty quickly said the Baltimore Ravens to win the championship this year. They are in the AFC Championship game as a host of the Kansas City Chiefs. Dog, how? Some may ask.
That's what I was about to ask you.
3.5 is our opener, and I'm getting no resistance at all. It's moved up to 4, and I just seem to be really scratching my head. At least here at our book, the vast majority of tickets are still coming in on Baltimore. Nick, you go ahead and set the record straight here. The Ravens a 4-point favorite now. The total 44.5. I
just don't see in a championship, any playoff game, I don't see how the Chiefs are not favorites. Mahomes getting points, I think that's an easy sell all day. I would take the Chiefs money line at plus 175. Or it's even probably higher now, right?
And actually it is a little bit higher now. You're probably staring down the pipes of almost 2-to-1 odds.
And that's good. I mean, if you say it opened at 3, now it's already going to 4, so that tells me I'm going to wait till right before kickoff and get that best money line prize I can get.
Right, and that's another thing that you can start to glean, and you could probably see that in line history and in many places. Heck, you could even tell as easily as if you're going into a shop and you could pull up the opening line. Let's see, in the book of Baldini's, I always print out a sheet that shows what our opening line is, and then you just compare it to where our current line is. And draw your own candle graph and say, hey, this is the way the trend is going. Name of our episode.
Yeah.
And you could find exactly what direction it's going in, so you could get a feel for how the market might just end up. So, Nick, you kind of already laid out exactly how you see this game playing itself out. Let's see how you got there. How? By digging into some of these player props. Why don't we go ahead and start with Baltimore? Obviously, the player that was the off-season story, which was Lamar Jackson, got himself quite a bit of money, proved it by bringing to where he is today. Lamar Jackson passing touchdowns is 1.5 to the under, minus 180. And so we're looking at $1.80 to win $1, get a full return of $2.80 to go under 1.5. Does he go over 2, Nick?
No, he does not.
Okay.
Passing touchdowns.
That is very good point. Taking the under on that. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes is 1.5 to the over. Not by much. Let's just call it pick 'em for the simplicity's sake. Over 1.5 touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you have of Patrick Mahomes for a rushing touchdown? You got to get some pretty good plus money on that, probably.
Actually, I would probably think that you're going to get not as much as you think you would. Let's go ahead and actually
I might retract that statement.
Take a look and see, because that seems to be the bet that seems to be happening. I would go and say, as we take a look at pretty much so these are called anytime touchdowns, right? If we take a look at the likelihood of Lamar Jackson scoring, you're laying wood. $1.25 to win $1 for a touchdown being scored by Lamar Jackson anytime.
Not a passing.
That is correct.
He's got to be a rushing or catch it.
Exactly. If that might happen, that should be quite tricky. Laying $1.25.
Yeah, I would take that.
Okay. Now, if we look at some of the other propositions, because rushing is probably going to be kind of prevalent, of course, on Baltimore's side. They seem to be, that's the game plan for them. And so I want to go and take a look at some of these rushing yard props. Lamar Jackson, rushing yards, 66.5 is set to the number. You're going to go over or under that number?
I'm going to go under on that one.
Okay. I could see where you're going here. Once again, if you read through the tea leaves and you see how Nick is handicapping player props.
And when it works great. When you're wrong, you're really wrong. Let me just tell you, because all your eggs are
Remember
on one
this
side.
for the Super Bowl, by the way. It's absolutely right. And I might actually do this in reverse for our final NFL episode of the year. I'm going to probably ask you of what player props you like, and as we track them down, I'm going to go ahead and predict what his actual game decision is going to be just off of these propositions. Let's stay with quarterbacks and rushing perspective. Okay. Patrick Mahomes rushing yards, 27.5.
I did have his prop last week. I think it was his over 25, and he had 22. So I'm going to say the under again on this one.
Under 27.5, staying on the same team. The man that's going to get the ball handed off to him probably more times than one. Isaiah Pacheco for Kansas City. His total rushing yards props are set to 62.5.
I'd take the over on that.
Over for Pacheco rushing yards. Baltimore side, Gus Edwards. Been getting an awful lot of work when Lamar Jackson isn't rushing. Gus Edwards rushing yards 44.5, Nick.
That's right there. I'd go over on that.
Over 44.
I'd go over 44.
Okay. Excellent. Now over
It's
to
probably going to come to like 43. I can see it already.
As you say, over.
Yeah. I mean, who likes betting the under? Let's be honest. I mean, unless it's a sure thing or I got some stats to really back it up and I'm going to watch the game, over is going to be the play.
It takes a refined psyche to be betting unders. You're betting on things to not happen.
Exactly. I
You
mean,
really have to be a contrarian to do that.
Oh, yeah, look at that not score.
Look at that thing happen.
Look at that punt. Yeah.
Look at time pass and nothing happened. Yay. Tick, 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 tick. Receiving yards. Let's go ahead and start with a player that's probably going to have a camera on him far more times than not, even when he doesn't have the ball. Travis Kelce. His receiving yards is currently set to 62.5. Nick, over or under?
I'm taking under.
Under 62.5.
62.5.
Okay, you've got me in
Perplexed?
a quandary. I am perplexed. That's fine. Let's move on. How about another player? Let's take a look at the receiving yards of, well, boy, oh boy, Zay Flowers on the Baltimore side. I'd probably say 44.5 receiving yards for Zay Flowers.
I'd take the over.
Over for him. And then stay over in the wings. Rashee Rice, 67.5 receiving yards. Rashee Rice.
Probably shouldn't, but my gut says go over on that one.
Okay, excellent. And then to wrap things up, Mr. Mark Edwards, who I definitely know is going to play. I'm going to say...
Wasn't there a Russ comment somewhere somebody made?
Yeah, I know.
When was the last time we
probably
actually
have to
suited up? But I mean, they are
rewind.
professionals, so. You know.
Mark Edwards, 35.5 yards. That's all you got to get to.
Under.
Under?
I mean, he hasn't played since like what, week 10?
You know,
Week 7?
I am not even joking. I was about to say 42.5, and then I said, yeah, 35. And you're going under 35.
Yeah, he's going to be on the field as kind of a decoy. I don't think they're going to use him, scheme him that much. I think it's going to be Zay Flowers and Lamar. But I really see this game kind of coming down to time of possession, ball control, and a lot of field goals, I think.
With that being said, I do want to take a look at some of these anytime touchdowns. We talked about Lamar Jackson. Let's see if any of these might have you take a bite. Obviously, you know, for Kansas City to win, Kelce, Pacheco, Rice, these guys kind of have to hit the end zone. How about a Patrick Mahomes anytime rushing a touchdown or receiving, right? This is, again, anytime touchdown. His feet enter the end zone with the ball in his hands. 5-1 I'm going to give you. You buying or selling?
I would buy that.
At 5-1.
At 5-1.
Excellent. Yes.
I had him at 3-1 last week on a parlay. And if he just rushed a touchdown, it would have been a very nice day. That's all I need.
Let's go to the other side and see if I could get another purchase from you on an unlikely player. But I'm going to go ahead and try this. Name out for size. Odell Beckham Jr. Yes.
I think he gets a touchdown on this one. I think, you know, we've kind of seen these big moments, these kind of big, I mean, you know, look at Antonio Brown a few years ago,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of coming up, stepping up to the moment. And I think he's been waiting his entire life for this. So I expect there's going to be some plays just for him to get the ball in the end zone.
You know,
now the question is, do I get bonus points if he one-hands it with two fingers, or?
You know, I was going to give you 350. I'm actually going to give you 360.
Okay.
Plus 360
Plus
if he
360.
catches it with two fingers instead of a full two hands. How about that? You know, Nick, and I'm for those of you that probably don't know him personally, pretty certain maybe 5 out of the 7 days a week he probably has on Bigfoot socks or something with Bigfoot. I'm going to close this laptop because I don't need it any longer for this particular segment. And for those of you listening in, I am going to perfectly describe exactly what I'm showing. You know, the last 3 years, NFL has come up with a logo. Actually, they've come up with a logo for the Super Bowl every year. But something's happened the last 3 years.
Oh, you mean we're living in a simulation?
So, for those of you listening
Did I
at
just
home,
pole vault over your
I'm going to go and put on my
tinfoil hat? I like it.
my tinfoil hat
You look good.
for this particular segment, the things I do for YouTube. And for those of you listening at home, this tinfoil is very high grade. I feel quite protected over what I'm about to reveal because this truly is an incredible finding if you haven't heard it yet.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL creates a logo. It's falling off. I can't have it fall off, especially during the most important time. This particular logo this year is colored purple and red. What are the colors of the 49ers and the Ravens?
Purple
Yes,
and red.
it's purple and red. Last year, Kansas City and Philadelphia, what were the colors? Green and red. The year before that, the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Rams. The colors there, red and gold, yellow, however you want to call it.
And just to specify, they make these logos at the beginning of the season before the games even played. So
That's it. I'm not making this up, everybody. It really is happening.
I'm going to take it one step further, though, because I have seen that, and you can make the argument that, I mean, there is some purple in there, but there's also, it could be Kansas City for, San Francisco. And I go back to the last time the Niners were in the Super Bowl, and that halftime, we were looking great.
Yes, you were.
Everything was looking great, and they kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter. And I feel like the world just has not been the same since they lost that game. I mean, what happened a month later? Everybody shut down, COVID, and everything has gone to shit since then. So I think it's going to be a Kansas City, San Francisco rematch. San Francisco rights the ship, and everything falls into place like it should. So that's what I'm hoping for this Super Bowl year.
So what you're saying is a different conspiracy theory altogether.
It was just, somebody sold their soul or something happened in that fourth quarter of that 2021 Super Bowl. And like I said, the world has not been the same since. So either way you look at it, I mean, hey, if you're my heart says, obviously I'm a Niners fan. I would love it. But as a sports fan in general, if somehow the Lions find a way to make it in there, I got to give props to them. I mean, good for you guys. I mean, it's been a long road coming. So, but I do think it's going to be the Niners in the Super Bowl for sure. I think they got the team, and no matter which way you look at it, it's either going to be a 2013 rematch or a 2020 rematch. It's either Niners and Ravens or Niners and Kansas City. So
there have been enough years in between. It's okay to trot back this kind of a storyline. By the way, thanks to my brother Roger Kowalski for telling me just before we went live on the air. He's basically the Queens, New York edition of me, except younger, stronger, faster. And he said, this probably is worthy of the few segment pieces that we have today. So thank you, bro, for that. And to my international listener and longtime friend, James Falco, up in British Columbia, I leave you with this possibility. Since you did mention Kansas City in the Super Bowl, there's no way that the NFL is going to flip the switches to make sure that Taylor Swift appears. Could they?
Anything could happen. I mean, if she's already there, hey, what's an extra $1 million? Come down and sing a song or two. But not to get derailed, but I heard something a couple of years ago that those artists actually lose money appearing in the Super Bowl. It's really more of a publicity stunt than anything else. It actually cost, I think it was the weekend it came out. It cost them like $8 million when it was all said and done to appear in the Super Bowl.
That seems to be a him problem.
So, yeah,
putting together a production of that size.
Well, I mean, I think he just bought like $1 million house in Bel Air, so it's working out for him in the long run.
In the long run, it does work out. So I don't know. I mean, I probably could lean in even heavier on all of these, and these are fun, and I'm sure that Nick would. If I had to honestly put in my lifetime a Mount Rushmore, which by the way is a another podcast altogether, the Mount Rushmore of everything. Yeah, I just have way too much time on my hands right now. If I had to make a Mount Rushmore of conspiracy experts and lovers, Nick, you probably get the leftmost position, carved out in stone. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have us chatting about all these fun things. And thanks to Baldini's. Thanks to all of you for listening in, watching, and joining us inside our sportsbook every single day. Thank you all. Enjoy your weekend. I'm your host once again, Robert Kowalski. Nick Schulte, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks,
See you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Bookie and the Bettor Show. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service.